What's up everybody, Icy Cat here. The official Year 4 roadmap has still not been released, and we don't know when it will be. So to hold us over in the meantime, I thought it might be fun to share with you my version of a creative concept for a Year 4 roadmap, including new weapons, operators, abilities, and maps. This is the Year 3 roadmap. We've gotten one of these at the end of each year to highlight what's coming up in the year ahead. But as we head into Year 4, we still haven't seen one like we have in the previous years. Is this because they have something big planned that they're not ready to announce yet? Whatever the reason, it's not likely to come in the next week or two, as most of the dev team is on break for the holidays, so little to no news is likely to come. In the meantime, I thought it might be fun to share with you my creative concept of a Year 4 roadmap. So here's the CTUs I came up with. We've got Australia, Israel, Peru, and Sweden. These operators are all for fun. I'm not claiming they're even close to being perfectly balanced. Again, this is for fun and creativity, not competition pro league play. That said, I did try to think of how each operator can be counterbalanced when coming up with them. There's 2 new maps and 2 map total reworks. The first season is called Operation Rainbow Serpent. The title is a tie-in with an Australian Aboriginal creation myth called the Rainbow Serpent, and makes a cool crossover title with Rainbow Six. I chose the house map for the rework here. I feel like both house and favela have some very unbalanced objective sites, and I'd like to see these maps made actually viable and competitive for once. Here's the first Australian op, Havoc. He's a defender, and his role is a hole filler. He does this with an adhesive foam application system that sprays an instantly solidifying foaming agent across holes in the environment. He wears a heavy multi-canister backpack that contains the chemicals in an unmixed liquid state that combine when sprayed out to form the hardened foam. The foam is still affected by explosives and bullets, just like any other soft breach surface. This can fill all kinds of hole types, though there's enough spray to completely fill in one man-sized hole like a thermite breach. Smaller holes can also be filled in until the tank depletes, like popped open mirror windows, murder holes, and more. You can also use it to fill in the drone vents or gaps below doors, and if used in this way, becomes the first non-electronic way to block drones. You can also partially fill a hole, including doors and windows, but it's still a soft breach surface. This only works on holes, so you can't spray freeform shapes. If you try, it's just wasted material. His loadout is the MP5A4. Just like Doc or Rook's MP5, but this one has a fixed stock, giving it a little more stability, and will also be all black, removing that awkward tan magazine that most MP5 weapon skins leave you with. His shotgun is the KSG-25. It's a 12-gauge pump action, but it's got an interesting feature. It has 2 12-shell ammo tubes, so no need to reload anytime soon, but the other cool thing is that each ammo tube has a selector switch and can be loaded with a different kind of shell. So one tube could be buckshot, and the other tube could be slugs for longer range, and you toggle between them as needed. His sidearm is the Glock 17. Now Glock is famous for making it very hard to license its gun in games these days, but maybe they could get around that by using a generic name as they've done for several other weapons in the game already. His secondary gadgets are deployable shield or barbed wire, and due to that heavy backpack filled with chemicals, he's a slow 1-speed 3-armor character. The Australian attacker is Viper. His specialty is on-site intel using his placeable cameras that drill through soft surfaces and allow the camera to see through to the other side. When it drills through, you can hear it, and there will be falling debris from the hole as it burrows through. This only works on soft breach surfaces, so metal walls will protect objective rooms for the most part, but it can also work on ceilings and floors. The view is fixed. It cannot pan or tilt, just like a Defender bulletproof camera, but without the thermal imaging. It has a wider angle of view, more like a Valkyrie cam though. The lens has a bulletproof casing so it cannot be shot from the front, but the rear has a wireless transmitter with a red light that is vulnerable if you can get at it from the backside. For counters, Mute is able to jam these devices, and even though bullets can't hurt it, Maestro's turret laser is able to break them. Explosives will also take them out, but may leave you with a bigger hole than you might want in its place. Another counter is that sticky throwables like vault cams, mines, or gas grenades can at least partially block what the camera sees. His assault rifle is the HK G36, a larger version of Ash's G36C. Or he can take the HK SL8 marksman rifle. He'll also have the Glock 17 and a choice between breaching charges or smoke grenades. He's a medium 2-speed, 2-armor operator. Now back to the roadmap, we see the next season will be Israel. There's been Israeli operators in pretty much every Rainbow Six game and book ever made so far, and long overdue here. This will be our first new map. Going back to map concepts that are a little bit more everyday, this one will be an apartment building. It would have 4 apartment units on 2 floors, plus a basement with laundry facilities, storage areas, and cinder block furnace and utility room with multiple stairwells, hatches, and exterior connecting balconies for lots of flanking and rotation options, and lots of verticality. The defensive operator here is Bastion. Something of a favorite of mine since the other 7 operators I came up with this week, but Bastion was my entry for last year's Design and Operator contest from Ubisoft. He changes things by altering lines of sight using an expandable wall. It can only be placed perpendicular to an existing wall, and anything blocking its placement will result in an invalid position. It can't be placed in such a way as to make a hallway unpassable, as it would give an invalid placement if you tried. It expands upward to the height of a reinforced wall panel and are pretty much the same. Bullets and explosives don't affect them, but any metal breaching devices like Thermite, Hibana, and Maverick can. To prevent map glitching, the top of the wall pushes anyone off of it if they try to get on top. They just slide off to one side or the other if they try. This makes sure operators can't get into unintended positions using it. The whole point is to alter known sight lines and angles into objectives. There's just so many spots in the game where you hold known angles to advantage and approach the same rooms the same way every single time. Bastion changes all that by creating a new surface to alter that flow. His shotgun is the Ithaca M37 pump-action shotgun or the Uzi 9mm submachine gun. Sidearms are the Jericho 941 pistol or the smaller Micro Uzi machine pistol. Secondary gadgets are a deployable shield or barbed wire, and he's a heavy yet slow 3 armor operator. Back in previous versions of Rainbow Six, one of my favorite Israeli operators was Ayana Yacobi. She had strong recon stats, back when operators had that, so my next attacker is Scout. She's a recon specialist and a counter roamer, but rather than tracking a specific person down like Jackal, she throws up to 3 motion sensors with a blinking green light that continuously scans a 15-foot, 180-degree arc from its forward-facing sensor. It lets out a piercing 180 decibel alarm for 5 seconds that can be heard from very far away, and also put a single red scan tag, kind of like a Jackal or Alibi when a defender crosses into its sensor range, that shows up on the entire attacking team's HUD. It won't trigger on friendly units, so there won't be any false positives. The device can be set off an unlimited amount of times unless it's destroyed. Very useful for preventing the team from being flanked by roamers or alerting to travel through high traffic areas. She uses the TAR-21 5.56 bullpup assault rifle or the harder hitting but slower firing 7.62 AR LMG hybrid Galil arm. Sidearms are the Jericho 941 handgun or the Micro Uzi machine pistol. Scout is a quick 3-speed, 1-armor character, so she can quickly respond to the threats her alarms make her aware of. Now Season 3 brings the Peruvian CTU and the map rework for Favela, a tight CQB map, but with the inherent weakness of too many exterior breachers that operators like Maverick and Hibana can just shred apart, leaving defenders with nowhere to hole up. That will definitely need to be addressed. Changing up Yellow Tower's floor plans and adding another stairway or other rotation option should solve many issues, combined with several other much-needed tweaks on this map to make it more balanced. The Peruvian attacker is Ejogo, which is Spanish for choke. Apparently there's 4 variations of Spanish spoken in Peru, but we'll just go for the generic form here for the time being. He brings a classic staple to counterterrorism assaults: a tear gas launcher. He's got 2 canisters, but these don't stick onto surfaces or detonate on contact. They take a few seconds to go off, and they bounce off of hard surfaces at high velocity, allowing them to tumble deeply into a room before going off. A gas effect goes off, but the result is similar to being hit by an echo blast, with disorientation, visual distortion, and a persistent audible coughing sound. The gas itself causes a slight 2 points of damage per second due to irritation to the mucous membranes, but then begins restoring at 2 points per second once clear of the gas cloud. The effect lasts for 10 seconds if moving while affected, or can be cleared in 5 seconds if not moving and out of the gas cloud. Counters are smoke and mute as they have their own gas masks, and Jaeger ADS units will of course destroy the canister. Sledge, Thatcher, and Ejogo are also immune on the attacking side. For balancing reasons, Lion and Finka remain affected, along with any other attackers, even though some of their models show ventilated breathing headgears while others do not. In fact, friendly attackers other than these 3 under Finka's nano boost will lose it on contact with the tear gas. Primary assault rifle is the 7.62 HK G3A3 or the 5.56 SCAR L, differing from Blackbeard's with a smaller caliber round and less damage, a longer barrel, 30-round magazine, and all black, and obviously no rifle shield. Sidearms are the Taurus Millennium or the Scorpion VZ61 machine pistol. Secondary gadgets are breaching charges or flashbangs. Havoc is a medium 2-speed, 2 armor. The defensive operator from Peru is Pierce. His ability is passive and always on, but works against him with some operators. His primary weapons are loaded with armor-piercing rounds. This treats all armor classes as being level 2 armor, so level 3 armor loses its heavy protection, but level 1 armor gets buffed to level 2 ratings when these rounds hit them. The reason being that AP rounds are made to blow through armor rather than mushroom and deform inside the tissue of the body, which would make them unable to penetrate that armor. So less armor actually means less damage to the target in this case. Any standard penetration damage penalties through soft surfaces are also reduced by 50%, making them hit just a little harder than non-AP rounds when they pass through that soft surface first. Where he really shines is against shield operators. His AP rounds actually cause penetration damage against these tanks. Now, it's not full damage. They only take 25% of normal damage in this case, and it will take a while to chew through those shields. But Blitz and Monty will finally have something to fear other than Legion mines. While gas grenades and explosives can affect shields, they often dance out of the way or shrug them off. Now in these examples, the shields are patiently sitting still while taking all that 25% penetration damage. In reality, they won't be such sitting targets, so they'll put up more of a fight than these examples. It'll take a good magazine and a half of every shot hitting to bring a full health shield op down. You also cannot get a headshot through shield penetration either. The AP rounds will also fire through castle barricades and reinforced metal walls, but they only leave small bullet holes and cannot rip large chunks out of these materials. When they do go through them, they suffer standard penetration penalties since these are harder surfaces. His primary is very similar to Jaeger's 416C in that it's more of a compact assault rifle firing those rifle caliber 5.56 rounds than the usual Defender SMGs that fire pistol caliber rounds. His shotgun is the UTS-15 and shares similarity with the KSG-25 in that it draws on dual ammo tubes with a selector switch, so he can have one filled with AP slug rounds for his ability and the other tube filled with non-AP buckshot for utility. As usual, same sidearm choices as his counterpart. These secondaries are not filled with AP rounds. They function normally. Secondary gadgets are a choice between nitro cells or barbed wire to highlight his role as an anti-shield operator. He's a medium 2-speed, 2 armor. Our final season brings us to Sweden and our second brand new map. One kind of map that we haven't seen yet is something with a heavy industrial feel. Something like a water treatment facility would make a perfect place for terrorists to seize control of to contaminate the water supply. Or maybe even just some old abandoned warehouse or factory. Big, heavy machinery in large, open rooms with multi-level stairs and catwalks would make dangerous cat and mouse segues between smaller satellite rooms with breachable surfaces. Something kind of like the old oil refinery or warehouse maps from Rainbow Six Ravenshield. Our first operator is Sira, which is Swedish for acid. Her role is to give the defenders a way to shape their environment more easily than just relying on brute force shotguns and impact grenades, as well as open up some new options. She uses a corrosive chemical spray to make holes in things, almost like a defensive maverick, but the spray is less precise and makes larger holes as a result. Great for making murder holes or opening things up for various sightlines. The acid can even make holes in metal walls, shields, and castle barricades, making strategies like this possible. By using a deployable shield stacked with an ADS unit and a castle barricade, you can create a very protected defensive position that even tossing a grenade or something at couldn't open unless you deal with that ADS unit first. This creates entirely new setups for defense. Now, when you use it on metal surfaces or castle barricades, the acid dissolves the material much more slowly, so those holes are only half the size for the same amount of acid expended. If used on a deployable shield, if more than 25% of the shield is affected, the entire shield just breaks. The spray is limited to a 3-foot range, so she has to be pretty much in physical contact with the surface to spray it. It can do damage at a rate of 5 points of damage per second, but you'll have to be within melee range to do it. It will also do damage to shield operators through the shield at a reduced 3 points of damage per second, but again, you have to be in melee range to do it, and that's a dangerous place to be. She starts with enough chemical for 30 seconds of total spray before it's empty. Her primary SMG is the 9mm SAR-109, or she can choose the drum-fed semi-auto Striker 12-gauge shotgun. Sidearms will be the HK SFP-9L or the CBJ MS machine pistol. Secondary gadgets will be either impact grenades or a deployable camera. She's a slow 1 speed, 3 armor operator. Now the Swedish attacker is Schema, which is Swedish for obscure. He'll be the second attacker with a specialty drone aside from Twitch. His special ability is a combination of the drone being able to deploy cluster mini smoke grenades and the drone being the first to have a thermal imaging sensor on it, so it can see through the smoke it makes. The smoke grenades cover a smaller area of effect individually than a standard smoke grenade, but because there are several of them, it actually covers an area overall twice as wide as one. Due to their smaller size, the smoke grenades have a 30% shorter duration than their full-size counterparts. Each drone only carries 1 cluster payload, but even after it's deployed, it's still useful as a thermal camera drone. The camera can see through any kind of gas, including Smoke's gas grenades, and can scan and tag normally through Smoke just like you'd expect. Otherwise, it functions pretty much like Twitch's drone. It's larger than standard drones, but quieter, and similarly, it cannot jump. It's countered by all standard drone counters, and additionally, Jaeger ADS units will destroy the entire ejected payload before it fragments into clusters, as long as it has line of sight on the deployment. Now, because his drone can be used during the prep phase, you have the option to hide it and not expose it during the setup phase, or set it off in the middle of the defender setting up and cause some disorientation and waste some of their valuable setup time. You could even use it as an anti-spawn peeking tool by setting it off on a defender's position if you see them setting up for a spawn peek and obscuring their vision. His primary assault rifle is the 5.56 Bullpup FN2000 or the SIG 550, similar to IQ's SIG 552, but longer and with better damage fall-off. Same secondaries with the SFP-9L and the CBJ MS. He's also got the choice of breaching charges or smoke grenades to get some added functionality out of his drone if he needs it. He's a medium 2-speed, 2-armor operator. So that's my creative concept on what a new year's worth of content could be. Who knows how long until we find out the plans for the official Year 4 roadmap. I'm sure it's nothing like what will actually come out, but it might be fun to see if there are any similar operator concepts to at least 1 or 2 of these, or if we get some of the weapons or CTU countries at least. As I said before, I don't pretend that these are perfectly balanced or without problems or flaws, but I did try to put thought into the pros and cons for each ability or setup, as well as synergies and counters, so I know they may not be pro-tier balanced, but it's something I put together for you guys just for fun. So what do you think? Would a few of these make a cool addition to the game? Do you hope to see at least some of these countries or weapons whenever the official Year 4 ops come? Let me know down in the comments below. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Be sure to click that notification button so you're alerted as soon as I make new content available. You can also follow me over at IcyCat25 on either Facebook or Twitter. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.